Hey guys, CJ here, and welcome to this video. As you can see from the title, it is my honest thoughts on Batman v Superman, and this is one of three parts, and they're not all going to be about the same thing. I feel like going forward into the second and third parts, you guys need to know my opinions about this movie. You guys need to know where I'm coming from when I say these things. And then part two, we're going to address why people compare and contrast Batman v Superman and Captain America Civil War, and that's going to be going up tomorrow, Saturday, April 23rd. And then the third part is going to be exploring this idea of an anti-DC conspiracy and biased critics and buying off critics, as some people have accused Disney of doing. That'll go up Sunday, April 24th. Quick note though, you're getting a preview of the new equipment that's coming to the H&N, this new camcorder and the new lavalier microphone. I just said camcorder, that's a little weird, but what I liked, straight from the top, you gotta go with the best thing, right? Ben Affleck as Batman. I feel like he was literally the best on-screen Batman we've ever gotten. And a lot of that is because I feel like he was equal parts the best Bruce Wayne we've gotten and equal parts the best Batman that we've gotten. The best of the man under the cowl and the best of the cowl itself. The one issue I have with him is that he kills, and a lot of people are defending that. Snyder has said, it kind of makes sense that he would kill. He's just a guy without superpowers, and in the movie Alfred says he's changed, so he didn't always kill. And maybe he won't kill after this movie, after Superman's sacrifice. Other than that, like Batman, he feels ripped straight from the page. The suit looks much better on screen than it ever did in a still picture. Affleck really brings both sides of it, and he's just believable. He's the most convincing Batman that we've got. And I will honestly say, I feel comfortable saying this is the role that Ben Affleck was born to play. In that role, someone that I doubted a little bit when she was originally cast, Gal Gadot was great as Wonder Woman. I feel like she was what the movie needed more of. She brought so much energy and so much life. And she was just, when she came into the movie, she just almost completely changed the tone. She lights up the screen. She's everything that Batman and Superman are not. She's passionate and lively and energetic, and that's what it needed. Alfred was fantastic as well. Jeremy Irons' Alfred was, in my opinion, the best Alfred we've gotten, although we haven't been wanting for good Alfreds. I mean, we've been blessed with the Michael Caines and Jeremy Irons of the world. Now, one of the things that I didn't hate, but I didn't love, Henry Cavill's Superman. And this comes, believe me, this comes from a place of deep respect for Henry Cavill. I like him as a person. Every time I see him in interviews, he's magnetic, he's charismatic, he just lights up the room. I saw Man from U.N.C.L.E. just a couple of weeks ago for the first time, and he was charismatic and very likable in that movie, and he just owned that character. And then I get to Batman v Superman, I'm very confused. I don't know if it's the script. Goyer clearly wasn't the problem. I don't know if it's Snyder, the way he's telling Cavill to portray the character. His Superman is just unlikable, and that's like the least thing that Superman should be. I mean, he's an alien, but he's somehow the best of humanity. And that's why Lex Luthor hates him so much. And believe me, we are going to talk about Lex Luthor, but I really hope that when he comes back, he embodies more of what he was in the last moments of his character's life. At that moment, in his sacrifice, he was Superman. He was the best parts of humanity. And I feel like we've been kind of slowly building up to the Superman we're going to see in the Justice League, or at least I hope so, because so far I have not been super impressed, I could say. Amy Adams Lois Lane, another kind of case of that. She's a fantastic actress and she's a wonderful person. I just don't love the way that she's written. She's used way too much for exposition purposes. She just has a lot of things explained to her, even though in this movie she was given a little bit more to do in Man of Steel, and I did prefer her in this movie, to be honest with you. One of the things that I really hated about this movie, Lex Luthor. And before you come and jump at me in the comments about, this is just what the movie's doing with Lex Luthor, this is their take on it. Well, I posit to you then, would you want to sit through a Batman movie that was the Adam West Batman? There's one out there if you'd like to watch it. It's kind of in that vein. Why Lex Luthor is supposed to be this great villain, and he did not come off as a great villain. To me, he came off as quirky and annoying, and I really wanted to like Jesse Eisenberg. I think Arrogant Alien's script was the one that had him with the tats, and he was this gang leader that worked his way up into a businessman, and that was spectacular. That was so much of a better version of Lex Luthor than this version that we got. I hate to say that I was right, but that rant video I made in like February of 2014 was absolutely spot on. He was everything that I was afraid he was going to be. And to that end, Doomsday, I didn't hate Doomsday, but I didn't love the fact that he was in the movie. I mean, he was essentially there to be a walking target for the Justice League to fight. You could have put Parasite in there and it would have worked half as well. I feel like they really also wanted to get to the death of Superman thing, but that brings me to the cinema objectivity portion. There are a lot of people out there that like this movie, so this is going to be hard to hear. And believe me, I was a person that really wanted to like this movie, and I still gave it a 7 out of 10, but I think, with fanboy blinders, that's with fanboy blinders full on, and that's because Batman and Wonder Woman were so spectacular. This is not a good movie. From a pure film objective standpoint, the critics have every right to tear it apart. it's overfull. In 2.5 hours, you'd expect that there's a little bit of room to breathe. There's absolutely not. And that's not, a sign that it's super actiony and super fast paced, because there are a lot of scenes of people sitting around and talking. There's just a lot in the movie. In the first 90 minutes before that final act, I feel like there might be at least 90 scenes. And this movie falls into what I like to call the Phantom Menace trap. You make things too political, then you have to have a lot of scenes of people sitting down and explaining things and talking and talking and talking, and it all snowballs into this giant, really honestly kind of boring mess. I agree with Chris Stuckman when you say that you could literally track, when you can see things that you could just start pulling out of the movie and it would have been better for it. You've got to start, thinking that maybe there's just a little too much in there. And that is absolutely the case. But when you've talked for the last 3 years about how you're going to reinvent and elevate the genre, you've got to deliver. You've got to do better than you did. It's kind of like they gave Zack Snyder, or Zack Snyder was very ambitious, and I can tell that. And visually, this movie is incredible, let me tell you. He may have been a little too ambitious with everything that he was trying to do. And maybe a 4-hour cut of the movie will make it better, but there shouldn't need to be a 4-hour cut. The Scorseses of the world don't need 4-hour-long movies to tell a good story. The best make do with the time they have, and they do it in the time that they have. They don't waste everybody's time with a 4-hour cut. I can say without a doubt, Zack Snyder is not one of the best movie makers. He's an incredibly visual guy. I would say visually he's a genius. He might be on par with someone like James Cameron, maybe a little further than that in setting the tone and all this kind of world building that he's done. I think he's fantastic. It's just from a film perspective, this film is a mess. I feel comfortable saying that. And I hate to end on this note, but I kind of am going to. I've talked a little bit longer than I was hoping to anyways. Let me know down below what you think of my thoughts. My final score is still a 7 out of 10. I feel like if I was reviewing it from a purely objective standpoint, it might be lower than that, but it's not. Everybody's review is subjective, and my review is very colored by the fact that I'm a fan of these characters, and I'm a fan of what they brought to life. And so with that, I'm gonna leave you guys. I hope you guys are looking forward to part 2 tomorrow. Please don't shit on me, Rage Train. This is literally just my honest opinions about the movie, and I feel like you guys need to know these going into tomorrow's video. But with that being said, this is CJ signing off, and I'll see you tomorrow.